Hey, take a quick look at the shirt you're wearing right now. Like, actually look at it. Have you ever wondered how that exact fabric, with its specific color, its texture, the way it stretches, how did it actually make its way into your closet? We usually just picture, a vast cotton field or maybe a massive, noisy garment factory. But we almost completely overlook the huge, totally hidden global supply chain that actually connects the two together.
And right smack in the middle of that global supply chain is an entity that almost never gets the spotlight. I'm talking about the Fabric Trading Company. These guys are the invisible middlemen, the unsung heroes of global trade, who historically bridge this massive gap between giant raw material suppliers and just thousands of dispersed tiny garment factories all over the world.
Welcome to this explainer, Adapt or Die, the secret crisis of the clothing industry. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on this deeply hidden sector of the global economy to see how the internet almost completely wiped out the fabric middleman and the absolutely fascinating ways they are mutating just to survive.
Section 1. The invisible middleman. Okay, let's dive right in by looking at what these trade intermediaries actually do and how they traditionally made all their money before the world went digital. So a trade intermediary isn't just some guy moving boxes around. They are a vital bridge connecting the producers and the manufacturers. And for decades, they survived and honestly thrived on a super simple buy low, sell high model. They basically profited massively off information gaps. They knew where the cheap yarn was in one country, and they knew exactly who needed it in another. And because those two parties couldn't easily find each other back then, the intermediary got to collect a really handsome toll.
Section 2. The Middleman's Dilemma. Because, as we all know, the golden age of just printing money off price differences and secret Rolodexes, that didn't last forever. The world changed, and it left the middleman in a very precarious position.
Let's actually track their rise and fall here. In the early 2000s, right after China joined the WTO, these intermediaries were just swimming in huge long-term contracts. But then, 2008 hits. The financial crisis rolls in, and suddenly orders shrink. Clients started demanding smaller, multi-batch orders. Fast forward to 2015, consumer personalization really takes off, meaning supply chains had to collaborate much closer. And from 2020 to today, we are firmly in the era of immediate digital responses and strict green compliance. The old model was just completely broken.
Now, this is where things get really interesting. Digital platforms basically shatter those old information barriers. The middleman's big secret knowledge? That just became a quick Google search. This left them with a severe mismatch. Their old habit of just stockpiling fabric didn't work at all for today's small, lightning-fast orders. The end result was stagnant revenue and just absolutely cutthroat price competition.
Section 3, Drivers of Industry Change. Talk about a classic adapt or die moment, right? The entire fabric trade industry was literally forced to mutate. But what exactly was pushing them over the edge? It turns out it was three major forces.
The biggest driver, accounting for about 45% of the pressure, was market demand. Basically, you and I started demanding quick, personalized, and eco-friendly clothing, which meant they had to do much smaller, faster orders. Another 35% came from shifting global supply chains. Well, actually shifting industrial structures in general. And the final 20%? That was driven by new technology and government policies actively pushing for digitalization. So the pressure was literally coming from all sides.
Section 4. 4 paths to survival. So the million-dollar question. How did they fight back? Let's take a look at how this all builds into 4 brilliant, very distinct survival strategies that basically saved the industry.
They realized they couldn't just be simple connectors anymore. They had to pick a brand new identity. They evolved into one of 4 things: comprehensive supply chain service providers, cross-border e-commerce operators, fully integrated manufacturers, or specialized fabric brand operators. Each of these paths targets a totally different size of company and relies on a completely new way to turn a profit.
Let's look at the first path in action. Take Jiangsu Huihong Group. They transformed into this massive supply chain service provider. They stopped just trading and started managing the whole shebang, from tracking the raw thread all the way to overseeing the final international delivery. And because they provided so much integrated value, their revenue share from the services jumped by a massive 40%. They weren't just middlemen anymore. It's like they became the conductors of the entire orchestra.
Meanwhile, other companies went down the second path, e-commerce. Jiangsu's Suha Textile realized, hey, we don't need massive offline sales teams abroad. So they built a dedicated cross-border B2B e-commerce platform. By going directly to global buyers online, they slashed the cost of finding new customers by an incredible 35%.
Now, path 3, this one is for the heavy hitters, actually becoming the manufacturer. Guangdong Fengxi Group decided to stop relying on outside factories entirely and just bought their own weaving and dyeing bases. By integrating trade and manufacturing into one seamless loop, they gained total control. The result? They cut their delivery times by 67% and locked in these highly loyal premium clients who absolutely needed that guaranteed speed.
And finally, path 4. What if you're a smaller player? You can't exactly go out and buy a bunch of factories. Well, Young's Cotton and Silk Shop focused purely on downstream custom branding. They specialized in highly specific, scenario-based fabric solutions. By building a brand rather than just selling generic commodities, they escaped that brutal low-price trap and jacked up their overall profits by 30%. They proved that specialized knowledge can be just as valuable as having massive scale.
Section 5. Overcoming the roadblocks. Now look, completely reinventing a traditional business model overnight? Never easy. As these companies pivoted down these 4 paths, they ran straight into a wall of massive challenges.
First off, finding the cash to actually digitize was incredibly tough. Building platforms and brands requires serious capital. Second, they faced huge talent gaps. Suddenly, these companies didn't just need smooth-talking salespeople anymore, they needed IT specialists, data analysts, and supply chain managers. And finally, they wrestled with tech challenges, stuff like system compatibility and data security. These hurdles were huge, and they were only solved by getting really creative, using joint talent programs with universities, finding clever financing, and partnering directly with tech researchers.
Section 6. The future of fabric. This whole struggle brilliantly illustrates why this industry transformation was so vital in the first place. By pushing through this painful adapt or die phase, these surviving companies built the exact foundations they need for the next major frontier of global trade.
The future of the fabric trade is basically splitting into 2 interconnected forces. On one side, you have a green, sustainable focus. If you can't prove your fabric is eco-friendly and low-carbon, major markets literally won't even let you in the door. On the other side, intelligent operations. We are talking about using artificial intelligence to predict exactly what clothes the market will want next, and using the Internet of Things to control factory output in real time. The modern middleman isn't a middleman at all anymore. They're becoming a high-tech data hub.
So to wrap up this explainer, I want to throw a question over to you. Imagine you were suddenly put in charge of a struggling traditional fabric trading company today. Looking at the landscape, which of the 4 survival paths would you choose? Would you build a massive supply chain empire, jump headfirst into cross-border e-commerce, buy up the factories yourself, or build a highly specialized premium brand? Let me know your strategy down in the comments and keep questioning how the everyday items around you actually got there. Thanks for watching.